I have three questions. Let's read through them and I might then deal with them separately. Number one, what is the difference between an advocate and a lawyer? In Canada, we have to write both exams, barrister and solicitor. I'll come back to that. Number two, can you also elaborate on whether you have assisted a Canadian lawyer for an exemption from SQE2 and SQE1? What is the success rate if you have 7+ PQE as a barrister and solicitor in Canada? And then finally, just to clarify, so if you are exempted from SQE2, you are not automatically considered as exempting from SQE1, and it is likely that you would have to sit the SQE1 even if you have more than 5 years PQE in Canada. Okay. Let me deal with the first question. What is the difference between an advocate and a lawyer? This is terminology. So an advocate is a lawyer. Lawyer is a very broad generic term. Then within certain jurisdictions, there are specific terms of art around these. In England, the English and Welsh jurisdiction, there is no particular term of art around an advocate as far as qualification is concerned. But generally, in the English language, an advocate is someone who is advocating on behalf of their clients, so therefore more likely to be doing representing them in court where they're arguing before the judge or the tribunal chairman or what have you. Lawyer is a generic term which covers all sorts of people, including judges, licensed conveyancers, barristers, patent attorneys, solicitors, all sorts. It's a very generic term. In the English and Welsh jurisdiction, generally, the largest numbers of lawyers are solicitors by a long, long way, and then barristers, who are the specialist, let's say, advocates. Okay. They have separate governing bodies, and the one for the solicitors is the Solicitors Regulation Authority, so the SRA. And this is what we're talking about in the webinar today. It's about the qualification process, the SQE for solicitors. So in Canada, it's going to be slightly different. I'm not an expert in every jurisdiction, but I hope that answers that question. So can you elaborate on whether you've assisted a Canadian lawyer for an exemption in SQE2 and SQE1, and what's the success rate? I have helped lots of people. I cannot remember, I'm afraid, and certainly success rates with the SQE2 applications for SQE2 exemptions. I help with getting it already, but I only know if it's been successful if someone comes back to tell me if it's been successful or not. So I really haven't got any stats, and they wouldn't be worth much either because I'm so much in lands of people coming back to me. So I'm not able to really answer you very much meaningfully with regard to number two, I'm afraid. Number three, finally, to clarify, if you are exempt from SQE2, you are not automatically considered exempted from SQE1, and it is likely that I would have to sit and pass the SQE1. This is correct. The SRA seems not to want to give exemption from both exams. They seem to want to have a look at you. Now, the SQE1 is where they are testing your knowledge of English law or English and Welsh law. So it only seems fair and right to me that if they're going to license you to practice in English and Welsh law, that they have checked that you know it. So if you've been granted exemption from SQE1, then you apply for exemption from SQE2. They generally, as far as I understand it, revoke your exemption from SQE1 because they want to see that you know the work. And if you have applied for exemption from SQE2, which you can do before you sit the SQE1, that's absolutely fine. And if you're granted exemption from SQE2, you'll still have to sit and pass the SQE1. No matter how many years qualification or experience you've got in Canada, that Canadian law, not English law. So that's their approach. So generally, you're going to have to sit and pass one or the other of the exams. If you're already qualified abroad in another jurisdiction, fine. Get exemption from SQE2 and sit and pass the SQE1. All right. Okay. This is more of a comment, I think. Yes, in Canada, we write both exams and therefore we become advocates. Okay, fine. Gabriel, that's answered the question.